Good afternoon, audience all over the world. This is an international online masterclass in the project Shape the Light. I'm your host, Catherine Leuven. I'm working at University KU Leuven, which is the main university in Ghent. I'll get you through it. This afternoon, we have some guest lecturers. I'll introduce you to them. But for sure, everybody also here present, welcome. We're missing still coffee. Hopefully you have your coffee when you're online. But this is a nice audience. I was very happy to see a lot of people interested in the matter. So welcome to everybody. As I said, I'm working at University KU Leuven. This university is celebrating its 600th anniversary this year, so we have a lot of events going on. This is a university which nice numbers. I don't want to get into details, but this is number one or number two of Belgium, so very known international projects in research. We are also a comprehensive university with several campuses, faculty, with several educations. So here we are in Ghent, and in Ghent we have the Faculty of Industrial Engineering Technology. So you see the arrow, that's where we are. It's not the main campus. The main campus is in the city of Leuven. That's why it's called KU Leuven. But anyhow, we are here. And in this faculty, we have the Light and Lighting Laboratory, which is, one of the research areas within this faculty. We are an independent research lab, also supporting a lot of companies within the lighting sector. So we have three main jobs. It's on research, of course, but also on education. And yes, at this moment, it's still quiet at the campus because campus academical year is starting next Monday. But anyhow, normally it's very crowded here. We have more than 3,000 students. And besides education and research, we also are involved in services. So that's where it comes to where I work on. It's Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen. It's one of the clusters, one of the clusters that is involved in the application of the project we are working in. And while we at the lab, we are about 20 people, but mainly working on research, a lot of international students as well, and working on topic of appearance of materials, of optical design, of course, new light sources, especially the laser diodes at this moment, but also known for optical metrology. And the most important is on perception of light, where we're also very involved in everything that has to do with color rendering of lighting. So we were involved in the new metric that has been introduced for a while now. So you see some of our equipment on photograph, which is a big near-field goniometer. And this equipment, for example, is very often used to support the lighting industry in doing measurements. This is our website. What you see in the picture is one shot of the Light Ghent Festival, where we have been working together with bachelor students in having their artwork. Why do I present this? Because of course this is the project Shape the Light and has the idea of bring together art and lighting technology. So this is an example, but you see the website and you see the several topics we are working in. The research, as I said, optical design, appearances, hard and soft metrology, and of course, indoor lighting. Where I work for is the cluster. A cluster is one of the 4 or 5 clusters in Europe. We are located in Flanders, so that's why it's called Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen, which is a Dutch word. We speak Dutch in this part of Belgium. We have been working on several projects before, and that grows up to a cluster working. So Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen is there for more than 20 years now. It has become an association in 2017. It's self-supporting, and yes, what we do is especially help in transferring knowledge and doing technology advice. We are also involved in research, so that what we call knowledge enhancement, and also in the implementation of knowledge in studies and demonstrators and so on. We are part of an international affiliation called ELCA, the European Lighting Cluster Alliance. And at the right side, you see all the members. We have more than 85 members in our cluster, where you see mainly the big companies are present, but also a lot of small Belgian companies and bigger companies, but also not only producers of lighting, but also people involved with lighting, like the installers, the architects, the engineering officers, lighting designers, and so on. Then we are finally at the project. This is the reason why we are together. We are involved in the project as Leuven for Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen. And the idea of the project is to boost co-creation and networking among the lighting design value chain, to empower the European creative sector. And as Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen, we have chosen to work on a few areas. One of the areas is, I hope people can come in, but it's on yes, light festivals. You've heard it. There is a Hens Against Light Festival, which is quite known. But we have also been involved in museum lighting, because this is one of the topics we are also working on in our research areas. And also in stage lighting, because we have been involved over the years with an association involved in stage lighting. So these are the three areas where we focused on. This has been done in one of the work packages that has been finished now. That's the one for acceleration. Now we are in the fourth work package, where the idea is to have knowledge transferred, but the capacity building program, as we call it. So you see there in yellow, where we have thematic masterclasses, and there will be 4 masterclasses organized by the 4 partners in this project, which is Leuven for Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen, which is Le Cluster Lumière en France, CICAT in Barcelona, Spain, and then we have Luce in Veneto, who is based in Veneto, of course, and is also the coordinator of the project. So all project partners are present. Also online, I welcome you as well, Andrea, Fabiola, and Mary, who are also normally present online. So Shape the Light is based on a dual complementary concept of intrinsic relationships between art and business. So we are focusing on art, design, and the lighting industry. A lot of people here are present from the lighting industry. Also online, we have Belgian people, of course, members of Groen, Licht, Vlaanderen also present. And yes, today it is about this capacity building opportunities. I will skip to that, but the idea is that we work to bridge this gap that exists between art and design and the lighting industry, but we also want to enhance the know-how and work together to mitigate the workforce shortage. And we will also raise awareness on the importance of the gender equality. And that's why in the announcement of this project, I focused on that, and I'm happy to see that a lot of women are involved. We also asked the women in lighting to send invitations, so that means that we have reached a lot of women, and we are very happy with these results. This capacity building is structured in several parts. So here we have the international masterclass. It will be the one on sustainability of lighting or artistic lighting products, but other clusters will tackle other topics. After that, we also have to do, each of us, a local deep dive, and KU Leuven has decided also to work on this topic of sustainability, where we have embedded this deep dive session in our own long-term specialization course that will start the end of the month of September. But the session on sustainability will be in March, the end of March. So today we have a topic sustainability of lighting products. And you see here the program. So I'm doing the introduction, and we will have as a first guest lecturer Teresa Salvaggio from Lighting Europe, who is here present. And we also have a showcasing where I invited Greet Verhoeven from ETAP Lighting International, also international, who is to show how they deal within their company with the aspects of sustainability. The afternoon is quite long, but we will have some breaks in between. Remember that if you have questions, you put them in the chat so we can treat them in the period we plan for that. So there are Q&As after each session in this program. As I told you, the two guest speakers, so Lighting Europe, because of their knowledge. Teresa is now Director of Public Affairs, but has a lot of knowledge in all topics because she has been doing this for years. Greet has been working for 20 years in research and development, so she knows very well how to treat this topic of sustainability in their products. Okay, so people who want more detail can find the biography of both speakers on our website. Before Lighting Europe, Teresa was working for European International Institutional Affairs. And prior to that, she also worked for the European Parliament for a few years. So that's a lot of experience in legal matter, in political matters. So for sure, this is also the case in what regulation from Europe is coming up to us. And Greet, as mentioned, has been working for years at ETAP. She grew from a manager custom design to the general manager of R&D within ETAP Lighting International, which is a Belgian-based company. I want to focus on that. So we are very proud to have Greet here to present her company and their actions within this topic of sustainability. I mentioned women in lighting as well, and I was very happy to see that ambassadors were taking up the invitation. So I know there are a few people that are involved within women in lighting. I'm not sure everybody. I think I see somebody on screen who is involved. So please, if possible, put me a message that, oh yes, I am here because I am involved in women in lighting. I can't retrace that otherwise. And then the other classes, not too bad to mention as well. We have in October, we have CICAT, who will be working on sustainability of artistic lighting performances. So not the products, but the lighting design as such. So you will see following weeks some communication about that because it's coming very soon. And then in December, during a Lyon Light Festival, I'm not sure which day, but there will be a Masterclass 3 on digitization of artistic lighting performances by Cluster Lumière. And then in February, it will be by Luce and Veneto, the digitalization of artistic lighting products. So that's the whole trajectory. And after that, we also have knowledge learning pills that will be set available through our websites. So general information, unknown participants in the session, please identify with your name so I can trace you. Recording is going on, so if possible, put your microphones on mute, and if you want to, you can put off your camera. Of course, when you speak later on in Q&A, you can put it on again. The questions will be done via the chat, as mentioned, and for the following up, the presentations will be, and the recording will be available after this session, so we will send you an email with the links. There will be the knowledge learning pills, and there will be a survey also sent to you through an email where you have a link and you can put in your your ID, how it worked. This is also the place where the material, as such, the PDF and the recordings will be available. You go back to our website. I'll put it in a mail later on. But under the figure, you see material, and this is not the button you have to push to find the PDF presentation and the recording. And if you want to contact me, here you have all information. And for that, I can close now. I thank you very much. I invite Teresa to take over.
Thank you.
And to give us a very nice afternoon. Thank you very much. This one.
Just to give us a few seconds to set up our stuff. I'm connecting my laptop now, where I have my presentation. Again, I think also people online can see my slides. I suppose so. So good afternoon also from my side. Thank you so much for inviting us from Lighting Europe to take part to this project. For sure, I can already say that we do share with the various lighting clusters and many of the participants here today, the main objective of sharing, supporting, sharing knowledge, supporting companies, stakeholders, also in navigating in quite difficult and complex regulations. So I'm afraid there will be not a lot of artistic from my presentation, so sorry for that already. Maybe there will be some creativity, because as you will see, sometimes the European Commission and the European institutions can be very creative when setting up requirements also affecting lighting. So jokes apart, just a quick overview of what I will be talking about in this first session. First of all, I will take the opportunity to present to you Lighting Europe, who we are and what we do. Then we will deep dive into two core regulations that apply to lighting, so on eco-design and on energy labeling. But especially I would like to focus on what will come after. So I will try to bring directly from Brussels some ideas of especially some new sustainability requirements that might apply also to lighting products in the next years. So as I said, I would like to have the pleasure to present to you Lighting Europe. Lighting Europe is the European Association of the Lighting Manufacturing Industry. So our association is a membership-based one. Our members are both companies and national associations from all over Europe. I'm sure that you will recognize several of the logos that I'm displaying. So when it comes to company members, we range from the big players, global players, to the mid caps, to the smaller companies and even micro companies. So decided to be direct members of Lighting Europe. When it comes to national associations, we also cover several countries. We cover the continental Europe, so we go beyond the European Union with the members from Turkey, for example, from the UK or from Norway. So overall, today we have 32 direct members. As I have just shown to you, some of them are national associations, some others are companies. Especially thanks to the national associations that are our direct members, we reach out to more than 1,000 companies all around the European continent. And we can say that overall our members represent around 15 billion euros of turnover in Europe. We also say quite proudly, let me say, that we are the only official European voice at European level of the lighting manufacturing industry. So we are focusing on the lighting manufacturing sector. And so this is how we basically represent the interest somehow of the industry, in particular in Brussels, in what we call the Brussels bubble. We are based in Brussels, indeed. It's where I traveled from today morning. I'm sure you know the European institutions are based in Brussels. The policy the regulations that apply directly or indirectly to the lighting companies. So here you see a representation somehow of the Brussels bubble. That's the way we call it in our European affairs jargon, where basically we have the European institutions who decide the next legislations. In particular, the European Commission can be considered the government of Europe, and which proposes new legislation. And then the other two co-legislators, the European Parliament and the Council, that altogether the three institutions basically decide and define the new legislation. All this process normally lasts between 12 and 18 months. With very complex and technical procedures that I will not tell you more about. But in the Brussels bubble, we have many stakeholders taking part of the decision-making process, stakeholders representing different interests from companies, from national, regional representatives, other industries, of course, those that we consider like cousins, so closer to us, because also representing the technology industry, but also other industries like cosmetics or toys, with whom several times we also team up to carry on together joint messages. And so basically this is where Lighting Europe is also playing a role, trying again to influence the decisions that are taken at European level. And as I said, we have to bear in mind that everything that is decided in Brussels one day or another will arrive on your desk and will impact your business, your company, and the activities that you carry out along the whole lighting value chain. So in a few words, what we do in this Brussels bubble as Lighting Europe, first of all, we monitor closely the political and the legislative developments. So this is a key aspect of what we do. In the meantime, somehow in parallel, we build the positions of the industry. So each of our members can influence, let's say, the final position of Lighting Europe that then us as secretariat staff bring to the European institutions. So you understand that we have both an external role and an internal perspective involving our members in internal discussions. So the way we work is based on consensus. So this means that sometimes the decisions can be quite lengthy, but we can always say that when we define a position and we bring it to the policymakers, it's definitely a position that reflects fully the industry view. And somehow this is what makes us a reliable, let's say, partner towards the European institutions. As I said, it's very important the work that we do together with other stakeholders from other industries, other sectors, and so on. So here, a few numbers on our late activities in 2024. I will not go into the details, but as you can imagine, we range from many kinds of activities. From events, webinars, we use, of course, as many of our view, our social media channels. We almost, I would say, weekly, even daily, are in contact with the European institutions of various aspects, meeting them, having calls with them, exchanging emails, and so on. And so now I can go to the core of my presentation. As I said, I will start talking about the current eco-design and labeling requirements that apply to lighting. This is what is valid today, what applies today. This is where I will start from. But I will then move towards what we can expect from the future. First of all, on eco-design, the reference point is what we call today the single lighting regulation. It's called like that because in 2021, it basically merged and revised the three existing regulations that were applying to lighting on eco-design. So for simplification, everything has been consolidated in one regulation, the single light regulation. Its number is 2019-2020, and this sets, as I said, the requirements related to eco-design. Then the other pillar for lighting products is the energy labeling regulation that instead sets the requirements for energy labeling for light sources. And this is the regulation 2019-2015. Now, these two regulations are somehow the Bible for those who supply lighting products on the European market. They are very complex, I have to admit. I've been working in Lighting Europe for 2 years now, and I'm still, how can I say, I still need to read again and again the lines, the articles of the regulations. And thanks God, we can rely on the expertise of many of our members, because I was chatting before with Catherine. Our real expertise comes from our own members, who are the first ones who have to comply with the regulations and have to make sure that the products that are put on the market are compliant with the law. Now, these two regulations that I was mentioning have already gone through a quite important revision in the past years. Many of the new requirements apply since 2021. What were the big novelties introduced? On the one hand, on eco-design, introduced by the single lighting regulation, there were strong phase out that were determined by the new energy efficiency and quality of light performance that were introduced. So a huge revolution that happened in the industry, in the lighting industry, because of the phase out introduced by this regulation. And also from the single lighting regulation, a first new requirement focused on circularity was also introduced. In fact, the removability and replaceability of the light sources and control gears in containing products has been introduced for the first time in the single lighting regulation, but I will tell you more about it later. When it comes to energy labeling, instead, the big novelties introduced by the new regulation. First of all, the scope has been enlarged, basically aligning it with the products that are in scope of the eco-design regulation. Another big novelty has been the discontinuation of the labels for luminaires. So since then, luminaires do not carry labels as a general principle. Again, I will tell you more about this in the next minutes. And then I'm sure you all are aware and probably daily fight with this every database that has been introduced following the energy labeling regulation. Now we dive more deeply into eco-design requirements. So starting with the single lighting regulation. Why does it matter? Why do you need to know it? Especially if you are a supplier, so a manufacturer of lighting products, but also if you are a distributor or you put on the market a lighting product, you need to comply with this regulation. So this is mandatory. It's requested by law that your products meet the requirements that are introduced in this regulation. So this means that you can then put the CE marking on your product that will then circulate in the European market. And also, if you are a manufacturer, your declaration of conformity needs to reference the single lighting regulation. So as I said, it matters because it's mandatory, it's law. So the single lighting regulation, its Article 1 defines the scope, so to whom the requirements, to whom or to which products these requirements apply. So the single lighting regulation says that the requirements apply to the light sources and to the separate control gear. What is a light source? It can be lamps, LEDs, LED modules. But bear in mind, it's important to bear in mind that the requirements also apply to the light sources and separate control gears that are placed on the market in a containing product. Is everything okay?
The camera is
it's frozen.
acting funky, so I'll change. Sorry for that.
No problem. I'm sorry for those online who could not see me. Yeah, it looks like it's frozen or distracted somehow.
That's not. I paid a lot to be in the
I put my lipstick on.
It's not moving. Oh. I will try to set it up to continue. I will try to figure it out.
Okay, yes, indeed, I will continue as long as the participants can see my slides and hear my voice. I think we are ready to go on. So I was saying that the single lighting regulation applies to light sources and separate the control gear. The regulation also clarifies that light source is a lamp, is an LED or an LED module. These requirements set in the regulation apply also to light sources and control gears that are placed on the market in a containing product. In fact, the supplier of the containing product also you maybe are wondering why I'm saying containing product and not luminaire, but I will come to this in a moment. So as I was saying, those who supply the containing product need to ensure that the light source and the separate control gear that is included complies with the eco-design requirements of this regulation. Diving even more in the definition of the light source, first of all, it is defined by the regulation. We can read it together. The regulation says that a light source means an electrically operated product intended to emit, or in the case of a non-incandescent light source, intended to be possibly tuned to emit light, or both. But in reality, the way in which the regulation defines the light source is through a set of parameters and limitations provided for each of these parameters. The parameters are chromaticity, coordinates, luminous flux of projected light-emitting surface area, luminous flux, and color rendering. So, for example, just to give you an example, the limitations indicated by the regulation on luminous flux is between 60 and 82,000 lumen. So, a light source that is below or above this limitation is not in the scope of this regulation. Then also the regulation clarifies what is not a light source, so that then doesn't need to comply with the requirements. And LED dyes are not light source, LED chips are not light source, LED packages are not. Also products that contain a light source from which the containing product cannot be taken apart are not a light source. I will explain you a bit better this aspect later. And also light emitting parts containing in a light source from which they cannot be taken apart for verification as well are not considered a light source. As I was saying before, one of the big novelties that came with the single lighting regulation was the phase out of a number of technologies because of the energy efficiency and the quality of the light that were introduced by the regulation. Here you see a table with the kind of lighting products, light sources that have been phased out in years. Many of them, you know very well, were and in part are still on the ground on the installed base, but the novelty is that they cannot be put on the market anymore since 2021, 2023. The phase out followed, let's say, a transitional period. So we are talking about T5, T8 light sources, halogen, fluorescent, and so on. Of course, this, on the one hand, assured a full transition of the industry towards fully energy efficient products, but on the other hand, it came with several consequences for the industry. I have in mind some numbers that have been put together by the European Commission itself, that the eco-design measures costed to the European industry 1 billion in 2023 and will cost 1 more billion in 2030. So you understand, of course, quite clearly the impact of these eco-design measures on the industry itself. One more aspect that is regulated by the single lighting regulation are the functional requirements. So the regulation sets only for light sources a series of requirements on color rendering, displacement factor, on two durability aspects, so the lumen maintenance and the survival factor, color consistency, and also flicker and stroboscopic effect. Instead, no functional requirements have been introduced for separate control gears. Now I come to one of the hottest topics, let me say, of the regulation, one of the most confusing one as well, that is the definition of a containing product. So again, the regulation gives a definition in Article 2. I will also read it loud for you. So a containing product means a product containing one or more light sources or separate control gears or both, including but not limited to a luminaire that can be taken apart to allow separate verification of the contained light sources. So we said not only luminaires, but also household appliances containing light source, furniture containing light source. So the luminaire as a product itself is not, how can I say, directly regulated by the regulation. Instead, it is among other products considered a containing products. So the luminaire is only one of the different types of products that are considered containing products. So is it something positive, something negative? There are several, let's say, interpretations of this definition. Of course, some specificities of the luminaire as a product get lost if they are considered together with other products that are completely different, like a washing machine, a fridge, or a mirror, and so on. Now, let's go a bit more deeply in the definition of the containing product. So when the regulation tells us also that when the containing product cannot be taken apart from the light source or the control gear, the separate control gear, then there is a kind of punishment for that containing product because it needs to be considered a light source. So if we cannot extrapolate, remove the light source or the separate control gear from the containing product to carry out verification tests, then the whole luminaire needs to be considered a light source, needs to be tested as a light source, and this also means that needs to apply the various eco-design requirements set in the regulation, that it needs to be registered on EPREL as well. So various implications. And talking with my colleagues who were in Lighting Europe already since many years and who negotiated somehow the text of this regulation, it is quite clear that here the intention of the European Commission was to try avoiding as much as possible to have containing products from which indeed the light source and the control gear could not be extrapolated or removed for verification. Another important concept is that a luminaire that is sold without a light source then is not a containing product. So the requirements that are set in the single lighting regulation do not apply in this case, of course. But if this containing product is supplied with a separate standard capped lamp, then the lamp which is sold with it has to be provided in its own packaging and shall comply instead with all the eco-design labeling regulations that apply to light sources. Talking about containing products, also, the single lighting regulation for the first time in 2019 has introduced some circularity, even aspects on the product, on the lighting product, even though still quite limited somehow. What I'm talking about, it's all set in Article 4 of the single lighting regulation that basically says that the light sources and the separate control gears that are integrated in the containing product have to be replaced, need to be able to be replaced using commonly available tools and without permanent damage to the containing product. So the first concept is the replaceability of the light source and of the separate control gear. Also, they need to be able to be removed without bringing permanent damage to these light sources, and separate control gear by market surveillance authorities that want to carry out verification tests. And also another circularity aspect is that the light source and the control gear need to be able to be dismantled from the containing products at the end of life, of course, to guarantee the recycling of these components. Also to remember that the information about the replaceability or the non-replaceability of the light source needs to be provided to the end users or the qualified persons who, in case, might need to replace the components of the containing product. Now I move to, let's say, the ending part of the single lighting regulation, that are the exemptions set in the Annex 3. Indeed, there are some products that are exempted by the eco-design requirements. We have three kind of categories, let's say, of products exempted. The first group of products exempted are based on some legislative references. So, for example, emergency lighting or lighting products used in medical devices, in military equipment, and so on. Then we have another group of exempted products. They are exempted for because of the, let's say, light source type that they represent. So, for example, those used in battery-operated products like torches or electronic displays. And then we have a third group of exempted products based on the specific application, on the, let's say, purpose of the use. For example, those used in signaling, so road traffic signaling, for example, in printing, projection, but also in stage lighting and pieces of art. These kind of light sources are also exempted by from the requirements set in the single lighting regulation. Now, as I talked about bans and the phase out, I think that I need to go a moment beyond the single lighting regulation and the eco-design, just to introduce to you the concept of the substances of the substances of hazardous substances, sorry. Basically, the substances of concern, chemicals. We are talking about this kind of products that are also banned, but in this case, in a chemical legislation, that is the ROS directive. So we do not only have bans set by the eco-design regulation, but also by this ROS directive that basically bans dangerous substances, including, for example, mercury. How does it work? The ROS directive, it sets in general the ban, so the restriction on using certain substances. But then exemptions can be requested. Temporary exemptions can be requested based on arguments and justifications that need to be provided to the European Commission and its consultants. So here you see a table with some examples of temporarily exempted mercury-containing products. You can see from the kind of applications that are covered, go from stadiums, filmmaking, stage lighting, and several kind of projectors. Just to tell you about one anecdote, in the past weeks, Lighting Europe was working and coordinating the request for a renewal of exemption under ROS, and we were contacted by many stakeholders along the whole value chain. For example, UEFA was one of the most active ones who got in contact with us to make sure that the products that their company members use can still be granted with an exemption in the next few years. And then I will not go into the details of the criteria that are followed to carry out the assessment for the ROS exemptions. Just to mention a couple of examples, what is taken into consideration and what we have to justify and argue for is, for example, the fact that there are not LED alternatives that are feasible enough or that are technically or practically, let's say, feasible to substitute the mercury containing products. Also, there is an aspect looking at environment or health that needs to be well justified. So, for example, UV lamps used for water disinfection, we have to argue that there is not an LED alternative that is good enough or feasible, let's say, to substitute the mercury containing products, and also the socioeconomic impact that the lack of this exemption renewal would have on the industry and on the whole lighting sector. Now I go talking about energy labeling regulation. So as I said, several novelties were introduced also by the ELR. First of all, we got a new, let's say, rescaled energy label with the new classes of energy performance from A to G, A the most efficient, G the least efficient. And here displayed you see, let's say, the legal energy label and the information that it needs to contain. The other big novelty has been the launch of the April database, the European Product Registry for Energy Labeling. Overall, the objective has been or was to give full transparency to the information related to the lighting products on various aspects such as luminous flux, color temperature, or cap type. Also, I know that it's one of the most complex, let's say, administrative burdens that companies have to deal with, suppliers have to deal with. Also, let me mention that since October from last year, there is a new verification requirement. So suppliers who registered their products in the April database need to be verified. And in case you can find that useful, I've inserted in this slide a link to a webinar that we organized last year with the European Commission with a demo on how to register a product on April, and also how to carry out the now required verification. So the blue text contains a hyperlink to our YouTube channel with the video of this webinar. As I said, one of the most relevant novelties introduced by the energy labeling regulation is the fact that luminaires do not need, but also cannot carry an energy label anymore since December 2019. The only exemption, as I said before, but I will repeat again, is when the light source or the control gear cannot be removed from the containing product for verification purposes. In that case, the whole containing product is tested and considered fully as a light source, and also needs to carry a label and be registered in April. What happens to light sources that are sold as part of a containing product. If it is placed on the market as a part of a containing product, then the technical documentation of the containing product has to identify the light source and also indicate the energy efficiency class. I'm fully aware of the confusion and the complexity of the definition of the containing product, of the requirements that apply to the containing product when and if, or vice versa, to the light source. We see there is a full confusion on the market. This is one of the topics that on which our members are discussing a lot. We see online market that is increasing also for lighting. So on the marketplace, on the online marketplaces, there is normalization of the information provided. Sometimes we see an energy label appearing. It's not clear if it's related to the light source that the containing product contains, or if it concerns the containing product itself. So this is one of the aspects that for sure we will try to address when the lighting regulations will be reviewed in the next few years by the European Commission. And even more, I can already unveil that our members have already shaped a position, so a solution at least to be proposed to the European Commission to bring more clarity on these aspects. Until now, I focused on the present, so what are the current requirements, but I can move towards the future somehow to anticipate to you some trends that we see emerging, of course, always with the regulatory, let's say, perspective. Also to give you the possibility to understand the latest developments and somehow anticipate what will come next. So talking about eco-design, the big novelty from last year is a new eco-design framework regulation. It's known as ESPR. We talk with many acronyms in Brussels. So this means eco-design for sustainable products regulation. It's the new eco-design framework regulation that has repealed, so has replaced the previous eco-design directive. So it sets the framework under which specific requirements for each product group will then be defined. What are the biggest novelties introduced by this revolutionary, let me say, regulation, which has a much stronger focus on circularity, on sustainability of products? So the overall objective is to make sure that the products that are put on the market, on the European market, are fully sustainable. So this is the main objective that we have to bear in mind. It introduces a number of information requirements, so a strong focus on information, on labels, on scores. You might have already heard about the digital product passport. It's a new instrument introduced by the ESPR, again, to improve the transparency on the environmental information of the product. The possibility to introduce scores on products. It can be about repairability, about circularity. For example, now the Commission is working on a recyclability score for PV panels. So they are, as I said, I cannot be artistic in my presentation, but maybe a bit creative, because the Commission itself is quite creative sometimes. And then a strong focus on the information that needs to be provided on the substances of concern that are present in the product itself. So basically, this means a huge tracking exercise by the manufacturers, who have to find a way to track all the substances of concern that are present in the product that they supply. Next to information requirements, then we have a set of possible performance requirements. Here I put together some examples. So for example, on the lifetime of the product, either guaranteed or technical lifetime, on the use of recycled content in the product, the availability and the time delivery of spare parts, and also next to the tracking of substances of concern, some substances can be completely banned by the product-specific regulation. So here I'm talking about the possible new requirements. So we do not know today which ones will apply to lighting. This is too early to know, but we are monitoring very closely, let's say, developments either on other products, or we are also somehow developing internal discussions, reflections on which aspects we believe, our members believe, are more relevant to be provided to the market and consumers. So again, I want to stress that the requirements that will apply to lighting will be known only when the new lighting regulation will be developed by the European Commission in the next years. And here to make you a bit more depressed, especially if there are manufacturers among the participants, you see the 16 possible sustainability requirements that could be introduced and could apply to the production of lighting products. So I would like now to recap some key elements of the ESPR and also to walk you through some major, let's say, aspects. First of all, the ESPR is a framework. Again, I repeat, it's a framework regulation. And then each product group will be tackled, let's say, based on an impact assessment, consultation with stakeholders. Lighting Europe will be there representing the lighting industry and trying to influence, of course, the decision making. So the Commission has basically prepared a list of products that will be tackled in the next years. This is in the working plan 2025-2030. You can find here the products that the next products of relevance for the lighting product, the lighting industry, that will be addressed. And you see that a possible adoption of a new lighting regulation is set for 2029 for light sources and control gears. Of course, before the new regulations to be adopted, we have to, how can I say, backward in timing, in the sense that the overall process in this case will take between 3 and 4 years. So we are somehow ready to start in the next months to launch the revision process of the lighting regulations under the ESPR. Also, another novelty that has been introduced by the ESPR is a disclosing requirement on unsold consumer goods. So this requirement will start to apply already to all products, all sectors, so also for lighting from 2026. It starts applying to large companies. Only in 2030 it will apply to mid-caps, and while micro and small enterprises are exempted from this requirement. So basically, companies need to disclose on their website the number and weight per year of consumer products that have been destroyed. And then also to specify the reasons for destruction and the eventual measures taken to avoid the destruction of these products. I already said some possible new requirements that could be introduced are on durability, repairability, recycled content, and environmental footprint of the product. These are somehow the most probable ones, let's say. Then the need to provide digital information on the product via the digital product passport. Important to stress on the fact that the digital product passport is a decentralized, let's say, database, or decentralized database. So contrary to EPREL, that is managed by the European Commission, instead with the digital product passport, each company will have to develop its own database. Also, something else that is important that I want to mention is when it comes to the digital product passport, the ESPR, the sustainability regulation, foresees the possibility for some products to be exempted from the digital product passport. It will be the European Commission, when setting the requirements in the product-specific regulation, who will basically decide whether, for example, for lighting, a digital product passport will be needed, because we already have a database that is EPREL. So the other possibility would be to expand somehow EPREL, insert in EPREL the new sustainability requirements, and so leverage on a database that already exists, that we know is not perfect, but it's something that we already know that companies are learning to use. And I have to say that in the past years, the Lighting Europe position, so that the position that came from our members was indeed to leverage on EPREL rather than going for a digital product passport for lighting products. But I'm sure we will go back to this discussion because it's a quite relevant one. It comes with challenges, but also with opportunities. And then again, I will mention the fact that the substances of concern, it's a new concept that has been introduced by the ESPR. It's highly problematic and came with a lot of concerns from manufacturers because of the way these substances of concern have been defined in the ESPR. It goes well beyond the existing chemical legislation. Our members have calculated around 10,000 substances that fall under this definition of substances of concern. So we tried somehow in the legislative process on the ESPR to reduce as much as possible the definition. Unfortunately, we were not successful for, let's say, negotiating and political reasons between the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union. But we also know that now in this new European term, so as you might know, after the elections of last year, we have a new commission, the new von der Leyen Commission, that has shifted the attention, let's say, from the Green Deal and the green transition to competitiveness of industry, simplification, reduction of burdens, let's say, on the industry. So in this simplification exercise, one of the aspects to which the Commission is, let's say, concretely looking at is these substances of concern. So it could be that in the next months, in this simplification work that the Commission is carrying out on various aspects, the substances of concern hopefully will be, let's say, addressed and either completely deleted or at least clarified, or the scope will be reduced again. And so, as I said, today it's a bit premature to concretely, let's say, talk about upcoming sustainability requirements in terms of eco-design and information requirements for the lighting products. But how can I say, we are at the moment where we are about to start the revision of the lighting regulations. Lighting Europe, our members are really getting ready more and more every day on various aspects. We have already started to share somehow with the European Commission some views that we have. I was mentioning, for example, the problem that we face today, where we have many luminaires that are present in April, for example, and should not be there. We also understand that sometimes it happens because of confusion or not enough knowledge, but other times apparently it also happens because carrying an energy label can be considered, let's say, a strong competitive, let's say, asset to have. So even though a luminaire should not have a label, it does have a label because it can be shown basically to the customers. Of course, this undermines strongly the level playing field between the various actors. So this is one of the core aspects that we will tackle in view of the revision, and then all the various sustainability related aspects. So as I said, which sustainability or circularity aspects we believe is most relevant to focus on when it comes to lighting. It can be on the repairability of a luminaire. It can be on the full, let's say, sustainability, because another possibility that is introduced by the ESPR is to provide information in an aggregated way on the product. So on, we could say, sustainability score that takes into account several parameters, sustainability parameters, not only repairability, but also, for example, lifetime or presence of substances of concerns. So as I said, we are getting ready for that. We are in continuous contact with the European Commission. Only last week we met a director from DG Energy to already sharing our views and also to understand how do they want to move on in terms of the revision. And also we learned that there is a concrete possibility that instead of going through the full revision of the lighting regulations under the ESPR, we could instead go via, let's say, transitional route. That would be a technical amendment to the existing lighting regulations. Technical amendment means only a few very limited changes that would apply in the next few years, while the big, let's say, revolution under ESPR will come at a later stage after 2030. So, and with this, I've come to the conclusion of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Teresa, thank you. Maybe I can ask the audience online first if they have questions already. I have put some questions in the chat that I'm dealing with, but maybe I should ask other people first if they have questions. If so, please, you can put on the mic and the camera. I don't see any movement in the classroom, maybe.
I have a question on the substances of very high concern. There's already ROS and REACH. So right now, as a manufacturer, we have to comply with ROS and REACH already. It doesn't matter if it's a lighting product or another electronic product. So we have all this information regarding ROS and REACH. Is there going to be an additional legislation on top of ROS and REACH, which makes it very complex for manufacturers? And I still, it's the same with a lot of legislations. Why are they not synchronized a bit more to make it easier for us manufacturers to understand? Because right now it's already very difficult with all the different legislations. If you manufacture lighting products, you have LVD, EMC, you have the SLP, the energy label, ROS, REACH.
Without that, no CE mark.
Packaging regulations, battery regulation on top of that, and it's just stacking up, which makes it very difficult as a manufacturer to control all of this. So
yes. So indeed, the substances of concern was one of the most painful aspects of the ESPR, as I said, especially because if we go and read the definition of substances of concern, so it's about REACH, it's about POPs, but then there is a last sentence that basically says that the Commission can define substances of concern any substance that hinders recyclability of the product. And this is a very vague definition, and that comes with the many risks. And so unfortunately, as I said, our members counted up to 10,000 substances that could be covered. And also, I mean, identifying a substance as hindering recycling of the product, we asked the recyclers, we asked the PROs, and they don't even know themselves. So it's
especially for LEDs.
Yes, we just buy electronic components which are loss and REACH compliant, but you're never sure what's exactly inside of it.
Then on top of this, it comes that today the lighting value chain is very much a global value chain, so where the tracking possibilities are somehow limited. So let's see what comes in the next months, if we will be able to fix this problem, let's say, of the substances of concern. Otherwise, manufacturers will have again to find a way to deal with that.
You said you were already talking with European Commission about the review. Normal way is that there is a preparing study.
Yes.
Is this also going to happen?
So indeed, there is, let's say, the formal procedure that foresees a consultation of stakeholders. So a formal consultation, Lighting Europe is part of the consultation forum.
Yes, but before the consultation, you have...
let's say somehow in parallel to the consultation is the preparatory study that is carried out by the consultants of the Commission.
And very often for lighting, it has been a Belgian institute, Vito, together with a lot of other partners, but
indeed,
it was Vito.
Indeed, so I was not there when the previous revision happened, but I hear from our members that they hope that certain consultants will remain because they know very well the sector, the industry. And so, I mean, rather than having to explain again from scratch some concepts, it's better to talk with somebody that is as expert as you, at least. So, yeah. We are really at the very beginning, let's say, so even before the Commission has started to work on the revision, but we work always in anticipation, even to the Commission. So before they even start taking the pen to write down the new regulation, we already have a position that we go to propose. That's one of the most, let's say, effective way of doing our job in Brussels.
A few years ago, I met Elena Scaroni, your president.
Yes.
She mentioned a tsunami for the lighting world.
Yes.
Do you still think it's a tsunami? Or I have the impression that it has been more...
I think I will revert back to you this question at the end of my second session.
Okay.
I will ask you what you think. Is it over or not? So I leave it for after.
Is there anything mentioned about efficacy improvements? Like, for instance, in the UK, the requirement is now light source 120, and by 27 it will be 140 lumen per watt. Is there anything mentioned?
But the efficacy is calculated through the formula within the regulation, and it ends up in lumen per watt.
But is it about efficacy improvements of requirements?
This is to be seen. This is one of the parameters that will be reviewed and assessed indeed. Now, one of the messages that we try to bring us in any occasion that we have is that the lighting industry has already gone through a real transformation. So also the products have somehow reached almost if not the highest, let's say, efficiency already, thanks to the technological evolution and so on. So we believe that we are at the stage where, rather than improving by a very little bit the efficacy of the product, it would be more important to focus on delivering on the market, transferring the installed base to the available technologies, to focus on smart lighting. So this is, we try to bring, let's say, to the discussion to, let's say, the next level, in the sense of going beyond the pure efficiency of the product.
Talking about exemptions, and you mentioned two, one for lighting on art. I didn't know that. So what you say is that if a luminaire is used in a museum?
No, this is not what I meant.
Ah.
So I meant light sources that are considered pieces of art.
The light, the installation as such. Okay.
So in this case, they are exempted from the eco-design.
That is clear. And then the other one was stage lighting.
Yes.
And I have a lot of people interested, especially in those stage lighting. Do I understand now that until the next review is published, nothing will change for that?
No. So
okay.
The exemptions that are mentioned now in Annex 3 remain. Again, like the efficacy, the exemptions will be one of the aspects that will be reassessed and reviewed.
They are going into a transition, because they had a lot of older traditional light sources used in stage lighting, and a bit you were involved as well. We see LED lighting coming really in front. But there are still questions about what about their stock of existing equipment. Can they still use it? Can they still buy it? So this is, but normally it should. Yes.
Yes, the eco-design requirements are mandatory for the putting on the market. So
yes,
from a certain date, you cannot put on the market.
I like to hear to say you saying that, because I had a first question put in there, the urban legend. I was told you cannot buy any fluorescent lamps anymore. It is forbidden. I thought it was about what's still available can be sold.
I think it's a different in Dutch, because I'm not sure about the English terms. It's op de markt brengen and in de handel plaatsen. Placing on the market and bringing on the community market.
If it's in the market, you can still buy it.
Yes, if it's already placed on the market and you have stock, you can sell out your stock.
Yes. So I think this is an urban legend that is.
But you can no longer bring on.
You want to know? No.
Yes.
No. I also had one question about the artistic installations. If I'm right, there's an exemption for very small productions. So if you create an artwork and it's one piece off, you don't have to comply with.
I think the limit is, how much? 20, 50?
No, I don't know about the definition of the piece of art, but how can I say? From an easy reasoning, I would say that pieces of art are only a few, not produced at scale, basically.
But there is also the exemption for a small number of luminaires. So if it's a custom-made luminaire and you make 10 of them, you shouldn't comply. You could just sell it.
This I'm not sure, because it's.
I thought so that I.
Yes.
Or maybe
but it's related to the pieces of art, probably.
Well, it's related to small production batches. Yes. They're below a certain quantity, because I think in lighting, when you go to the designer lighting, it's almost custom made. So you have a lot of light designers who make custom made light objects, which used to be a lot with the retrofit lamps, just with sockets. But right now, all those things are mostly phased out. So they're building these creations with LED strips and with rope lights and stuff like that. So if I remember right, there was an exemption for very small quantities.
I will need to double check this one because it doesn't come on top of my mind, but maybe I'm just forgetting about it. I will double
So
check.
much
We can double check also during the break and go and look for it.
Same remark I have about the definition of containing product. If you have a luminaire and you say it's you should see the product as a light source when you can't remove the light source, neither the control gear. If you can't remove it without breaking it,
Yes,
you may break the luminaire, but if the source is still intact, normally, then it should be okay.
yes, without damaging the light source and
The light source and the
gear.
control gears.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about interpretation.
Yes.
Interpretation,
If I understand the object, the luminaire, it's possible that you cannot put it together anymore, as long as you can remove the driver and the light source without damaging it.
Yes.
So we can do measurements. I think that's the purpose.
Yes.
If you do measurements on it, then it's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's how it's. I understand.
Instead, the replaceability, so it's the other circularity aspect, is you need to be able to replace the light source or the separate control gear without damaging the containing product.
But is it defined who is the end user? Must the end user be able to replace
The
it?
replaceability, no, the replaceability is with commonly available tools.
Yeah, but by end users or by professionals?
Whoever can use the commonly available tools.
There's a lot of room for
Yeah,
interpretation there.
Absolutely.
Many parts of this regulation are open for interpretation. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Lighting Europe developed guidelines on the single lighting regulation and on the energy labeling regulation. They are accessible freely to our members, otherwise they can be purchased by non-members, but it's where we give, let's say, the lighting industry interpretation of the rules.
Yeah, for Belgium, that's true via Agoria. They are officially member representing the smaller companies in Belgium. Okay, last question I have, it's maybe a bit a questionable remark, but people I hear from companies, well, there are a few active present here, but EPRL and starting with EPRL and putting light sources in EPRL, it has been a tough job. And then I just try to think about it and I say, okay, the idea of this database is that customers can consult it. Has there been any numbers available of how much this database is consulted?
We should ask the European Commission.
Does the customer know anyhow that there is some kind of a database? If I know how much work, how much money is going into that, and especially for people trying lighting designers, people who are involved with lighting in tertiary, but also, of course, in artistic projects, they don't consult. Is this the way how they will find the products they need? I'm not sure about it. So,
yes, as I said, for sure, this is not at all a perfect tool that we have today, but after several years of implementation, it's something I think that suppliers are getting, let's say, familiar with more and more.
it's
Then-
a must to do.
Yes, then the Commission is really trying hard to improve it as much as possible. We see a lot of investments also from the Commission on this database. We as well, we try to improve it and to help the Commission improving it as much as possible. So I would say at least 2-3 times per year, we send proposals of improvement on April for lighting. But yeah, it's something that exists, that is there, and that can be improved, we believe, and that can be used and leveraged also to centralize certain information. Today, some information, for example, need to stay on the website of the producer. Instead, we believe that it would be better to centralize everything on April. And then also for market surveillance, we believe it can be leveraged more and more. So as you know, market surveillance is another very painful aspect on the lighting sector. So we believe that it has potential. Yes, it has the potential to at least also improve market surveillance.
Having said that, I'm not sure if there are any questions. I see a question. Would these exceptions for small batch artistic lighting artwork is also interesting me. Happy to see this confirmed. So that's could be.
I will go and double check so that I come with an answer when I have my next session.
Okay, that's within about 1 hour. But meanwhile, we have 5 minutes to make a change and go to the next speaker. This is Greet Verhoeven from Etap Lighting International. Changed the name a few years ago into an international company. So she will showcase how Etap is dealing with all those legislation, all those regulations. People who want to take rapidly a drink, it should be outside. Now ready. Where the dates? Please. For that. Guests. En dan ga je een explorer route of zo en je gaat en moet je gewoon met register hier voor guest entrance. En dan stuurt hij je
There were so many revisions and stuff like that. I read it somewhere that it used to be an exemption, but I'm not sure.
Oei, heeft hij dat gedaan?
Ja.
Nee,
MBA.
Dan gaan we daar gewoon laten liggen.
Het was in het toilet.
Ja, het toilet.
Nee.
Teresa, you want a glass of water or coffee?
Don't worry, I take
Or tea?
We are still recording. Yeah.
Yes, we are still recording. So keep the whiskey away.
Yeah.
Iets in mijn rug, ja. Oh, dat is niet goed. Maar er is niks op die mee. Nee, nee. Ik heb niets gezien.
Die mooie auto was niet zo vaak.
I have some pictures, so we are waiting.
We are waiting somebody.
Yes. Ik ga clean. Okay. Everybody is set and done. Thank you for waiting. I will introduce now Greet Verhoeven. She will speak about Etap and how Etap is dealing with the sustainability aspects. Being a manufacturer, that's the most important. Go on, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Catherine. So indeed, I'm a manager R&D within ETAP Lighting International. I'm going to take some time to speak about who we are, what are the DNAs of our company, and especially how we bring our brand promise Tomorrow's Light into practice. So, do it like this. We are a medium-sized company, already active on the lighting market for more than 75 years. Our headquarters is in Malle, nearby Antwerp, where the Trappist of Malle is coming from. Most of you know that. And we are around 275 employees. And from the early start of our company, we were obsessed to create as well safe as comfortable working environments within a lot of indoor segments. So we are active in the healthcare, hospitals, elderly homes, but also in industry, offices, education, and indoor sports. And that in different measures. So we are active in emergency lighting, but also in lighting. We deliver also control systems and the services that goes along with it. So a total solution for our customers. And like all companies, or most of the companies do, we are also looking in the business world we're operating in. And then we see two trends that will have a huge impact on the construction market and thus on the lighting industry. On the first hand, that is global warming, and the need to limit the global warming with 1.5 degrees Celsius. And of course, the depletion of natural resources, where we will be confronted with this century. So in Europe, that wants to become carbon neutral by 2050. This gives a huge pressure on the construction market. And it will mean that we have to, and certainly because of the construction market is still responsible for 38% of the carbon emissions. So we have to speed up the renovation of our buildings. But renovating our buildings, that can also have further or realize further depletion of our natural resources. That's why we know with ETAP that creating a safe and comfortable working environment is not enough. That's where our brand promise is coming from ETAP, Tomorrow's Light. Which has a double connotation. First of all, we want to create and deliver innovative lighting to delight our customers. But on the other hand, we want to create lighting with a light footprint, so that our lighting is not paying on the future of our planet. So now I'm going to speak how we bring this all into practice. And then especially we at ETAP, we focus very much on extending the use phase of the product, because most circular product is a product that never breaks down. And so therefore we say Tomorrow's Light is endless. But as all products do, also our luminaires will break down, or some parts of it. So then we have to take care that's easy to repair the luminaires, easy to repair the broken parts. But when that's not possible anymore, we have to see that they are easy to refurbish, or at the end, easy to remanufacture, that we can use some parts that not break down to give them a second life. So means that ETAP's lighting is effortless. And then at the end, when we have to recycle, we have to see that we use as much as recyclable content as recycled content in our new products. So that's how we deal with our promise there. So yeah, that's a quick introduction, and now I'm going to jump that we are on our journey towards full circularity. But we do not pretend that we are already there, but we have taken a lot of steps already, and we will do it in the near future as well. when we look at the life cycle of a lighting installation, that we see a lot of opportunities where we can do something to minimize the footprint and to be as sustainable as possible. And it starts already with the lighting design. We have focused our effort in extending the useful lifetime of our luminaires, especially by that we achieved only a decrease of the light output after 50,000 hours to 3%. The standard on the lighting market is a loss of 20% after 50,000 hours. So there we achieved only the light loss of 3%, and that without driving the current, because a lot of lighting manufacturers, they use constant light output drivers. That means that they drive the current when the LEDs go down or degrade. But that means driving the energy consumption up and increasing our carbon footprint. So that's why we say, okay, a circular product design reduces waste from the start, because we give it a very long time before the degradation starts. But also we saw that was not enough, and we created a couple of years ago an extension of an existing office range. And it was optimized for interdistances, so that we can light a specific office, typical office with the maximum interdistances between the luminaires. And we achieved a reduction of 55% of luminaires to have the right lux levels on the working tables. So there as well, we reduce there the waste from the early start of a project. But also on the maintenance part, we have to see when things break down at the end, that's easy to repair, easy to maintain. And then typically such high bay applications, a lot of them on the market are sealed for life. High bay applications that are used in industry, but also in theaters, in musea, and so on. Our first generation, we tried to make a luminaire that was easy to repair, that we can repair the driver, that we can replace the LEDs. But it went with it came with an expense of a low IP rate. We only achieved an IP20 rate, and in fact, it was not that easy to repair when it was installed. So that was a third generation of our high bay luminaires. Our second generation came out, I think, 4 or 5 years ago on the market. We have achieved to make an IP65 luminaire without sealing, without sealing it for life. So, and it's easy to maintain when it's installed. So we use there 3 anti-drop screws. You can take the gear tray out, you can replace the driver, you can replace even the gasket. And we reached there the IP level of IP65. Like you see, we reduced a lot of material. We went from 13 kilograms of aluminium towards 10 kilograms. We increased the lumen per watt drastically for the same lumen output of the luminaire. So that's why we say, okay, a luminaire has to be, or a circular luminaire has to be designed for easy maintenance as well. And then, yeah, also when we go then a step further and we will go to the refurbishment, we also offer a lot of refurbishment kits as well for emergency lighting as general lighting, where we replace as few as possible materials. On the left side, you see a drawing of or a picture of an emergency lighting, where we only replace the inner part of the luminaire as well for the part of general lighting. But I explain it later. I have some more details on my second part of the presentation. So therefore also tomorrow light is endless, that we can easily refurbish and give the things a second life. I'm going to show a video now, so I hope.
Our world is changing fast. We face global climate change and depletion of natural sources. We must act today for a better tomorrow. It's time to upgrade your lighting. It's time for tomorrow's light. Reduce your energy consumption, lower your environmental impact, and be prepared for the upcoming phasing out of fluorescent lamps. Our refurbishment solutions allow to upgrade your existing luminaire to LED in an easy, quick, and circular way. Improve comfort and lower consumption. Tomorrow's light is endless, effortless, wasteless. ETAP, tomorrow's light.
Already some feedback, some questions.
I think we have some possibility
after
the session.
And then, okay, what we did next, we also have created a new business model, Circular Light as a Service, where we, for a fixed amount of money, we guarantee the lighting performance and the energy consumption during a certain period of time. So then, and this in the most circular way. And then we come towards the next cycle. When the contract is at the end, okay, numbers come back and what then next? So therefore we have organized different things. So I will go in more detail about them. It's first, you have to able to identify the components that are used in the luminaires. You have to have your documentation and your spare parts ready. We work a lot around standardization and platforming. I will come back to it later. And like I already mentioned in the previous slides, we have to optimize our designs towards assembly and disassembly, and also the part of recyclability and to use recycled content. So first of all, we have to be able to identify the key components that are used. So next to the normal installation manuals, we also provide maintenance and repair manuals, where the spare parts are mentioned, and where instructions of how to replace drivers, how to replace the LEDs or batteries for emergency lighting are shown. And next to that, we also add the fraction distribution, like you see here on the mid part, on the content. There you have, for example, steel, electronic waste, polycarbonate, PMMA, batteries, and so on. So all the fractions are there colored in our manuals, so that all the components are clearly identified. And at this moment, all this information is already accessible via our website, but in the future, we will foresee smart tags on our products that can be scanned, and that there are lists of spare parts are coming along, and that can be ordered within our system. We have also systems that follow up our luminaires. This is now an example of our emergency lighting or our own ESM system that gives or that generates reports after testing of the luminaires. And when the battery is end of life or doesn't get the desired autonomy anymore, then it gives a signal, it gives the code how the battery has to be ordered with which code. And so at that moment, the customer knows I have to replace my battery. And for the last project, the Light as a Service project, we do it for the customer. So we monitor the system, and we go to exchange the batteries when the time is due. The second part that I said, especially go to standardization and platforming. When you want your luminars to be able to be repaired or to be upgraded and so on, it's very important that you work with standard components and standard interfaces. So, for example, for our systems, we see that we are always compatible with open standards, but for screws and so on, and small materials, we work with DIN and ISO standards. For all electronical parts, like sensors, LED boards, drivers, we comply with the Zaga standard. And when there are no standards available on the market, we try to create them ourselves. On the left picture, you see, for example, a suspension set for suspended luminars. We created one standard, and we have changed all the suspension sets of our luminars towards one standard suspension set. Here also you see, you can see here we have introduced the material composition onto the part itself. And I don't know when everyone can read it, but we say, give me a new life, return me to ETA. When the luminars are disinstalled, please bring it to us. We will take care for a second life, or we'll take care of the recyclability. Also, another example is around our systems of emergency lighting. So that controller that's taking care of the testing of the emergency lighting. And that's something that typically is used in the artistic world, in musea, in podia, in theaters. So that's why I've added an example of a theater. And there, our newest system is still compatible with our old system, is still compatible with the old luminars. So everything can be mixed up in at the customer side without any hassle. So that's also something that we take care of, to see that everything that we create as few waste as possible. Then we come to the part of the optimization towards assembly and disassembly. This is also an example of emergency lighting, because you can go to standardization and platforming, but when you don't have the ease of repair created in your product, then it's not likely that they are repaired, but probably that they are replaced by new ones. So therefore, we use a lot of click systems. We don't use a lot of screws and so on. So by easily clicking out or clicking open the luminar, you get access to the interior of the emergency lighting. You can replace the interior by a new interior. So also the fluo band, that's there. So you can easily replace the gear tray with a fluo lamp and with a very bad nickel cadmium batteries. You can replace them by a LED engine and nickel metal hydride batteries. So also no more lamp replacement needed because it's all executed with LEDs. About the batteries, we consume less energy with nickel metal hydride. They have 2 times the lifespan of nickel cadmium, and the recyclability rate is very big. It's between 75 and 85%. So also, reduce waste from the start. So here only the interior is changed. So all the valuable materials that were in place stay in place. So we replace as few as possible materials. This is another example from lighting. It's launched early this year. The ETAP circulence, we say it's state-of-the-art circularity. We use, so we have very few materials that we use. We have here the LEDs with the LEDs, the lenses with the lens holder and the PCB board. and they are clicked in towards a steel frame. We can easily replace a reflector and a fluoro lamp by a new steel plate together with those modules. And we can almost get all T8 lamps and T5 lamps, all the different combination 2 lamps versions, 1 lamp versions, we can replace them by this new circle lens solution. Also, we use the same hinging system as before with our reflectors. So also after installation, the driver is very easy accessible for reparation or for replacement. Then the last part, when we talk about recyclability, we try to use where it's possible recycled material, but therefore also had to come back about on the REACH discussion earlier. We discussed a lot of times with our plastic manufacturers or injection molding manufacturers, can you deliver us recycled content, recycled materials? But we need a REACH certificate. And that's still very difficult because they don't know out of which fractions recycled content exists. So that's some manufacturer guarantee it. We get a REACH certificate, but a lot of manufacturers say, no, we cannot give you any REACH confirmation or declaration about recycled content. So that's a big struggle, I think, for all of us. But sometimes we manage to get a supplier that wants to do it for us and can give a declaration. So, for example, our lay luminaire, it's aluminium extrusion, and it's existing out of 85% recycled aluminium, and also the shield here of the lens, it's 100% recycled polycarbonate. Our newest diffuser product, our U2B, the plate underneath it's 100% recycled material, and when we look towards the total luminaire, it's existing out of 95% recyclable material. So yeah, that's where we put our a lot of effort in our company. Then is an example, also to get a link again with theaters and podia and so on. Our newest emergency lighting luminaire, where we now switched it over to lithium iron phosphate batteries, so no nickel, cadmium, or cobalt anymore. And we have here used the transparent housing for our electronics and our battery with minimal additives. So only the one that are necessary for the process. So that gives especially some benefits towards recyclability later. Then maybe another example of refurbishment, and especially as a last light as a service offer. We renovated the St. Paulus College in Waregem, where we achieved to use 20% less luminaires for the same light output. 80% of the fixtures were refurbished, and we get a result of 70% of energy savings, and this for a 20-year performance obligation contract. It's also a movie that I want to show you. It says more than my words.
Ik ben Wim Dufourmont, technisch directeur van deze campus, Campus Hemelvaart, die deel uitmaakt van een grotere groep, de St. Paulus School. Wel, het gebouw waar we ons nu bevinden en waar dus ook ETAP gezorgd heeft voor nieuwe verlichting, dat is een gebouw van halfweg de 60er jaren van de vorige eeuw. Vandaar dat we op zoek waren naar een systeem waarbij hij zegt van modern, eigentijds, met een mooie lichtspreiding over de ruimte en uiteraard met een zo klein mogelijk energieverbruik.
We hebben dus voor dit project eigenlijk de behuizing, de bestaande behuizing van de verlichting behouden. de reflector, de lamphouders eruit genomen en een op maat gemaakte module ingepast. Men heeft daarbij niet de plafonds moeten herstellen, niet moeten schilderen, dus wat ook de kostprijs voor de school enorm drukte op dat moment.
Maar anderzijds was ik ook het idee genegen dat we binnen ons economisch model er anders tegenaan moeten en dat de mensen die produceren, dat die eigenlijk ook verantwoordelijkheid moeten kunnen blijven voor wat zij produceren.
Wij hebben voor dit project een engagement van 20 jaar. Wij zijn 20 jaar volledig verantwoordelijk voor het goed functioneren van de verlichting. Dus wat er ook gebeurt, het is ons probleem, het is onze verantwoordelijkheid om te zorgen dat zij goede verlichting hebben.
Verder staat ETAP volledig in voor het onderhoud. Op jaarlijke basis voeren zij een controle uit en hoeven wij ons eigenlijk geen zorgen meer te maken. Dat betekent concreet dat wij daar dus als school zelf met onze werkmensen geen tijd en geen energie meer moeten insteken. Voor ons is het eigenlijk een pure winsituatie.
De klant die betaalt voor de Light as a Service een jaarlijkse fee. En die jaarlijkse fee die bestaat uit de investering, de financiering en de onderhoudskost.
En dat is ook naar leerlingen toe niet onbelangrijk, omdat zij die planeet nog langer zullen nodig hebben dan wij. Dat zij dat besef ook krijgen van dit is belangrijk en dat ze daar vanuit de school een soort voorbeeldfunctie voor krijgen.
Ik denk als school moeten we meer gaan inzetten op duurzaamheid, op het circulaire. En dan mogen we gerust zo'n projecten wat extra in het daglicht gaan stellen.
Not mentioned in the movie, but with such a specific refurbishment solution of general lighting, when we calculate the material that we consume there, we gain almost 2.5 kilo per luminous on painted steel, because the inner part stays in, and the construction to get that's incorporated in the ceiling, it stays there. It's also the less material we can put in, we do. So also a big benefit there for the solution. These are then another example, also Light as a Service project, the Stadhuis Sint-Niklaas, where we changed the fluorescent lighting by LED lighting, and there we reduced 33% of the luminous. Instead of 3 rows of luminous, we achieved the same light levels with 2 rows of luminous. And then after a couple of years, a part of the building had to get another destination. There were such 3 LED luminous installed in a recessed ceiling. The recessed ceiling was taken away, and then we only made a frame, custom-made frame, where they can put the luminous, where we have put the luminous in, and we have foreseen the suspension set. So within that last project, we even give the luminous a new destination. And then also within our company, we set the bar also very high. We have committed ourselves towards 55% reduction of carbon footprint by the end of 2025. We have also via the shift, but we have already went over it. So also a small movie about how we did it. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you, we have also written our own white paper about circular design. So for the one that wants, you can always download it via our website or via this QR code. And that was the end of my story.
Okay, thank
So,
you, Griet.
Questions, remarks.
There is some time for questions from the audience. Maybe you can put it in the chat.
There is one I see.
Yeah, that's the one I asked.
Yeah.
But I will leave others maybe first.
Hello, my name is Anne. I have a consulting company in lighting, and my focus today is really to push a little bit more the European manufacturers in Europe. But I heard, and I'm very pleased that a Belgian company and a manufacturer, but I heard that you put on your spare parts to return them back to ETAP. If they are end of life or if you want to replace them. But what about Recupel? Who is paying the recycling process? Because we paid already when we were buying the luminaire a certain amount as Recupel in Belgium. The money doesn't go to the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
You now say send it back to the manufacturer and we will see what's going to happen with the process, but who is going to pay that? Is there a possibility to use the Recupel amounts, or are the manufacturers all responsible for the costs? Difficult question.
Yeah, a difficult question, but I don't have the answer on. But like you said, send it to ETAP. It was an example how we want to give it a second life. And we know the material that's in it, and we know how to, because we have standardized the suspension set, so it hopefully will go on forever. It cannot break down, so we can easily recuperate it towards no projects.
But there is always a cost. In returning and receiving, and
probably it's not only a Belgian question, because Recupel is part of Lightrack. It's a European aspect that
I don't expect an answer from you today, but it's a question that I have because I'm really pushing for the repairability, and when it comes from a European manufacturer, the spare parts are close in Europe. We can do that. We can really push for that. I don't say that we don't need Asia anymore. That's not the point, but I think we should find a new balance. But who is going to finance all the returns? And what about Recupel?
For the light as a service contracts, we are
included.
So we will take it back and we will see to give it a no life, to recuperate some parts to give a no life, and we will also take care for the recyclability when that's in place.
Yeah, I know, but it's an extra cost that is coming, and price is at this moment so important in every project, not only the last, but the price also of the product, and that's always the push from when it comes from out of Europe. Then it's a good price. But if you see the costs and you have an extra cost over there, I looked at the costs also when it has to come from, for example, China, or the cost when it comes here with the taxes. We all know the taxes at the moment with our Mr. Trump. It's getting more in balance, I think. But if we are going to say, okay, we accept the returns, then there will be an extra cost for the manufacturers. What about that? That's a question that I have. We should think about it.
Maybe to add on this, do you already have a lot of customers sending it back to you?
Well, because we started light as a service contracts, the first one, I think, 6 years ago or something. So they only come back in 14 years or 15 years. So that's wherefore we have to prepare further on closing the loop completely. But taking now the needed steps to have in our designs, to have.
And you, of course, are thinking ETAP, but it could be also ? Which brands to be replaced by an ETAP product, and then what you're going to do.
If I may add on this, just to say that the topic of remanufacturing is one that is being addressed by Lighting Europe and our members. We have a dedicated task force on remanufacturing because indeed there are not clear definitions or processes. So this task force is developing guidelines on remanufacturing for lighting. And I understood that the critical aspect is whether the product has entered or not the waste stream. So once it enters the waste stream, then it's completely considered waste, and it's in the end of PROs, recyclers, and so on. On the contrary, if we intercept the product before becoming waste, then it's a completely different story.
I think we have to stimulate manufacturers to take this kind of initiative and organize it ourselves a bit. That we say we want our products back so we can reuse them, and if the recycling centers, which gather all those broken products, because customers, they just throw it away. A lot of times they just don't think about it. They throw it away. That when it comes to the recycling centers, they can see, oh, this is a product from ETOP. In this case, we send this part back to ETOP.
Yeah,
I think we should organize it this way, and there will be a choice for manufacturers to choose. Do we take this approach? And it will have an effect on pricing, I suppose, that the product will become cheaper because you reuse your own parts, and if they're modular, they can be used in different models. So that's a good thing. And if you do not choose for this as a manufacturer, you will have to pay more because your product ends in a waste stream. So I follow this.
Yeah, and you are already speaking about parts. In the beginning, it's about compounds. So like aluminium is the main product to be recycled in lighting.
Depends on what kind of part it is. It can be metal or something.
But that's a good product, aluminium.
Yeah.
You get a lot of money for it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but there are other parts.
So, that are more difficult.
And I don't know if products that are reused are cheaper than you.
I'm not sure either.
Not always, but
No. And that's what we should.
The finance.
That's a circle that we should break. Because now new things are cheaper than reuse it, and that's a circle we should try to break. I think.
Let's be hopeful because we see in textiles.
I was born too early.
It's becoming very popular. So one day maybe. The question I have, and the thing you didn't mention, is additive manufacturing. Is this something that ETAP is going to step in? Is this a way to be circular? First, that's maybe my first question. Being a chemist,
we use a lot of additive manufacturing for prototypes and
Yes.
zero series before we are going to the mold
that's
production.
one. That's numero uno.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So
And what about molds? Because molds are very, very expensive, and maybe it doesn't have to last 2,000 years because you won't be creating these products for that time, and that was the idea before.
yeah, we invested already also in aluminium molds, which could do less shots than a steel, an iron one. And we experimented sometimes with the additive manufacturing, but our the norms are and the how do you say it? The requirements are so hard, like for when you want to deliver emergency lighting, it has to be glow wire
probability.
Yeah.
And that's not guaranteed in all the process of additive manufacturing. We have now had a prototype delivered, we tested it, and it's passed the test. So, but a lot of because of the additives that they are in the material, it's not fire resistant. So, and there we are, bumping in towards legislation.
Speaking about additives, you showed one slide where you say we are using fewer additives, but does it make the lifetime not shorter because it's getting brittle or will break?
No, we did some study work around it. We discussed also with the supplier of it, and we get the same lifetime.
But that's a chemical part.
Yeah, and it's also there is no stress on it because it's a clicking mechanism and it stays in the ceiling until 10 years later. The first time the battery has to be replaced and it will be opened again. But for the rest, there is no tension coming on. So no stress coming on. So case per case, we look for opportunities and. But the biggest hurdle that I mentioned is the recycled content, the REACH certification about recycled content. That's the biggest issue at this moment for us.
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay.